So we've got this little maple tree. Um, this started off in the tree line, and I was kind of feeling sad about it one day years ago, so I transplanted it, and it grew. Now, at the time, there was nothing in this area, so we thought, what the heck, it'll just be another maple tree, and if the day ever came that we didn't want it, we'd take it down. Well, that day's come, and we realized that it's really not in a good spot. We've since planted grapes, and they shade the grapes in the morning, and then the afternoon that gets shade from the other way. So there's a rhubarb over there, and it's affecting the growth. There's two beds, one directly behind the maple and one to the right. The one at the right is taking a beating because of it. So what we're going to try is to, I don't have a chainsaw, so we're going to try tipping the tree. And I'll tell you more about that later. I estimate the tree to be about 30 feet high. The only thick part is at the stump. The rest can be cut with a handsaw. So I'm going to dig out around the base. I'll come out about 2.5, 3 feet, and I'll dig a trench all the way around this. Once I get the trench out, I'll break up any roots that are sticking out. And then I think I can throw a rope on this thing and pull it over. That will do two things. It will save me from hiring someone with a chainsaw or renting one, but it will also pull the stump out at the same time. So I've seen it done online. I'm going to try it. So I started by digging out around the base, cutting off the roots that I came across. A lot of rocks, very rocky soil. And this thing, I don't know how this thing took root here, but in any event, here it is. So I'm going to knock off for today, and then tomorrow I'll continue and we'll hook a rope to this thing and pull it over. Okay. So here we are on day 2. I'm going to start by widening the hole around here so I can get a better shot at the roots. I found I had made it too narrow or too close to the trunk and too shallow, so I'll have to widen it a little bit. So I'll work on that. Okay, I've found a couple more big roots and cut them loose. And I figured I needed some leverage, so I couldn't reach high enough to push it over. So I hooked a chain up here around a tree and ran it down to a car, and I've got a come-along down there. And I can use the come-along to apply more pressure and hopefully snap off the roots here. So that's what we're going to attempt right now. and it's down. And you can see this root mass here. I would have had a hard time digging that out. I think the leverage of the tree itself really paid off. It seemed like a lot of work in the beginning, but when you really think about it, you know, considering I don't have a saw, it just made more sense. Now I can clean up this mess and fill in the hole and go have my coffee. Okay. Well, it looks like there's one root in there I have to dig out. Success. Now I gotta clean up the mess. Okay, I got that mess cleaned up. Now I gotta move the trunk with the stump attached. Really too heavy to be lifting, so I got a better way of doing this. Okay, the stump is gone. Now we just have to fill in the hole. So there's the area all cleaned up. I threw a little topsoil on top of there, but I'm not happy with that particular topsoil. When it dries out, it gets like concrete. So anyway, I'm not going to seed this now. I'm going to let it sit over the winter, and I know it's going to settle with the freezing and thawing, and I'll come back in the spring and throw some good topsoil in there and seed it. And by June, I'll be mowing this. Not that I want to mow it, but it'll be better for the grapes there. We're going to be putting in a couple more poles to lengthen that line. I guess we're in the grape growing business now. And hopefully this rhubarb will come back. I got to get in there and weed that out, but a lot of the roots were heading right over here, probably sucking up the nutrients and causing this bed to almost die. So you see remnants of a better bed over there, but these were really good plants when I put them in. The first year I had huge leaves and stalks, and then it went downhill from there as the tree grew bigger. So we took care of that today. So let me show you what I use for equipment. I use this cart, and I use this cart a lot. I've worn it out probably twice. I bought it in '03, so that would have been 16 years ago. And I ran it until the wood rotted out. So I took it all apart and measured each piece and redid it, but I did it in OSB, which is something I should have never done. I keep it inside, I don't get it wet, and you can see it hasn't really broken down again that much, but the foot here, the metal bracket on the bottom, I wore out. It actually rusted out right along here, and I came across this piece of used metal. I'm not sure what it was off, and it was a little too wide. So I found by putting some 1x material on each side, it would fit perfectly. So that's what I did. I replaced it. This is a lot more heavy duty than the pipe that was on there. So anyway, I use this for moving rocks, and as you can see, I moved that tree stump. It's because of the way the axle is, it gives you a lot of a good fulcrum. You can get it up into the basket. You get it on the wheels. You can roll just about anything anywhere. You got to make sure your tires are filled up. Mine are a little low right now, but we're coming into moving wood season, so I'll refill those. But I think in the spring, or maybe the late winter, I'll replace the wood again. You can see the front edge there. That's popping up. This is all just 1/2-inch ply. Next time I'll probably do pressure treated and then be done with it. And I'll try to rig up something to give me a better front edge there. This is actually a gate that lifts up. I never use that. I never lift it up like that. But I find that when I'm sliding off things, it tends to pull this off. So I'm thinking a good piece of sheet metal wrapped around there, covering the whole front inside, will probably take care of that problem. So this is the winch I used. I bought it at Harbor Freight. I think it was like $20. It's a light duty unit. It's got a 10-foot cable on it, and the capacity is 4,000 pounds, which is certainly enough for me. It only weighs about 7 pounds, so it's easy to move around. It's got a couple of good heavy-duty hooks on it. I can ratchet it up. Like I said, it's a 10-foot cable at 3/16 inch, so it goes under the name Hall Master. But I would say that if you're a homeowner and you're only going to use this thing once in a while, it's a great item to have hanging around. Um, I've used it twice now. I've used it for this, and then I used it to move my shed. Let me show you that. So I used the come along out here to move this shed. I moved this shed over probably 10 feet. It was positioned between that pine tree and that stump right in the middle. And shame on me for building it there. It was really an awkward position. At the time I wasn't thinking. And there was a pine tree there where that stump is. But I wanted room for more firewood, and I didn't want it out front here. So this spring I come out here and I drilled a couple holes in the frame, and you can see that round hole there. And that hole lines up with a hole on the other side of the shed, and I ran a pipe through there, 3/4 inch black pipe. It was actually a pipe clamp, a long one. I ran that through there, and then I hooked a chain to either side of it, and then attached a come along to that tree, and I just moved it. It took me about 30 minutes to move this thing, and then I jacked it up. When I got it to where I wanted, I jacked it up and I put a better blocks underneath it, because the ones that were there weren't sufficient enough to hold the weight. So yeah, the come along really paid off.